Well, good morning. I guess it's good afternoon for you, Ricki.
It
I'm
is.
so delighted that you're here with me today. My name is Nancy Parsons, and I'm the president and co-founder of CDR Companies. And we were actually founded 25 plus years ago, almost 26 years ago. We specialize in in-depth assessments as well as coaching and even digital avatar coaching. So we have a system for everyone, for executives and for all levels of employees. But I am so happy to have Ricki here with me today. She is an executive in the tech industry, and a little bit about her, and then I'll mention. We can talk about how we met, which was so cool. Anyway, Ricki does have an amazing track record as an executive, as I said, in technology. So she's held a pivotal position as vice president in technology at Comcast, where she spearheaded cross-functional collaboration between business units and technology teams, which is not easy, right? She's now moving towards another role, which she'll tell us about in technology as well. And she is a visionary leader and consistently acts as a change agent for the organizations that she serves for digital transformation, ensuring that diverse perspectives are integrated with practical solutions so that these can be swiftly executed. She's deeply committed, and this is what I see regularly, to allyship, mentorship, and advocacy, championing initiatives to support diversity and leadership development across the tech landscape and within the realm of women in leadership. I see you in the Philadelphia networks all the time doing all kinds of cool things. So I'm so delighted to have you here. And we might talk about how we met just a little over a year ago now, right? Last
Yeah.
August.
Yeah, I
August
guess a
12th.
little, yes. And
August.
but it was a wonderful, wonderful day, right?
Right.
So your the wedding of Dave and Angela and was wonderfully at the Eagle Stadium. And we're all
Right.
talking about football right now because we're big in football season. And we had the opportunity to meet during the wedding and just hit it off. The
Exactly.
discussion about
Well, and I might add, Angela is my daughter. So she married Dave Spadero at, like she said, at the Lincoln Field. And from the reception to the wedding, the ceremony was just fabulous. So we got to meet and talk and just hit it off. And since then have stayed in touch. And, I've watched your career and the things you're doing. And one of the other things that hopefully a little later you'll talk about, you were even good enough to go ahead and take, since you're a tech leader, take our new technology, CDR Coach, which is a digital avatar coaching
phenomenal.
technology to debrief our assessments. So I'm going to ask about that later. So that's how we met. But I've watched you on LinkedIn and we chat every now and then. So I'm really excited about what's going on. So first, tell me what it's like, what your career has been like, and how you ended up as an executive in technology. Kind of a pioneer, really.
Sure. I mean, and I do. I love technology. I love engineering and building great software. So when I was a little girl, my dad was a software engineer, and when I would
Okay.
come home from school or I would wake up in the morning, my dad would be off in the corner typing away, and there'd be pieces of computers, hardware, and motherboards all over the place. And all I knew that he was typing really fast. So I
Yeah.
wanted to do that. And, my career evolved. I started to understand what software development looked like. And I wanted to be a business person and didn't really understand what that looked like.
Right.
But I ended up at NYU.
Okay.
And I learned software development at NYU and actually started in the working world doing that. And it's funny because you traverse your career and you keep building great software and understanding what that looks like and leading software teams in particular, which is what I love to do. And my dad would be applying for jobs and he said, "Is this your team?" So there you go. But it's been a wonderful career learning about technology and seeing the evolution of
Right.
software development over all these years as well.
Right. And now it's just going at like warp speed with AI and everything else. So
Yeah.
that's great. That's exciting. And I didn't realize that your father, was in that first. So he was your role model in getting in there. Well, the other thing too, Ricki, and knowing you and what you're doing, what you also bring, and we study obviously STEM profiles, we identify STEM talent in our business. But the one thing you have is kind of a special aside, is not only STEM, but the STEM with leadership and communications ability. So that kind of sets you apart a little because that's not very typical.
Right.
Even many leaders in technology don't have strong leadership profiles, if you will, but you do. You have that in addition to the tech side, so that's pretty exciting.
I try to be a very good example and also work with folks that are trying to be great leaders. And what does that look like in servant leadership? But I think, I had the opportunity to work in every facet of software development. So I was a developer. I did all of the testing. I was a DBA. I managed full custom implementations, build out UX, and all the analytics and reporting, which is what I love the most, and realized that I was a much better leader of developers
Right.
and actually doing that development work myself.
Good.
And that ability to translate what they are doing or what I need our technical teams to be doing has been kind of a superpower of mine. And I also really enjoy helping those both leaders as well as engineers in every facet of their career show what they're capable of, because a lot of folks are introverted and they don't necessarily know how to get out there and show their wares. And so I really help mentor and coach people to be able to do that as well.
Good. Yeah, because that's the big issue that we see primarily is they're introverts and under risks, they're detached, so they move even further away. So they just have a difficulty often communicating well. They do great work, but they like to be by themselves and they're not so you bring that connection, right, to help them probably communicate through you, I would imagine sometimes too.
Sometimes. I think that I've worked with phenomenal technologists who they know how to communicate. They communicate best potentially with other technologists, but being able to share what they're doing with C-level executives using language that they can understand and understand the value of what they put together. Because some of the folks that I've worked with, they've come up with solutions that are just rock star. And I want them to understand what that looks like. And I've had the ability to help elevate them in that way.
Good. And and I imagine too, help them with the translation, because if you're talking too techie to non-techie people like me, I'm like, what are you?
Yeah. That's it. What you can do nowadays, and also if you think about what's going on in the world of AI and prompt engineering and things of that nature, people have to modify the way that they're speaking and looking at translating so that they can get there, but it's helping a lot because you can use AI in that way to help you translate also.
So I have to ask you this because we use it. I use it. Do you use Chat GPT and things like that?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes, of course. It's a tool that is just so helpful in adding creativity. I'm on a theater board and I, was looking to come up with ideas for raffle baskets for Halloween, and I even used it for that. So, there's lots of opportunities.
Yeah, I love it. And the other thing it helps with is I do a lot of writing. It helps with articles. It just kind of, and I get a little wordy and it helps me trim it back to more reasonable kind of thing. So anyway, so tell me in terms of leadership, what do you enjoy most and what do you enjoy least or find like ick, in terms of leadership?
So
if there is an area.
I'm sure, there's always things that you love and things that you don't. So what I love the most about leadership is elevating the folks I'm working with, but also being able to create a vision and then going forward, making that happen in a very collaborative way. I'm a very collaborative and motivational leader for that matter. I have a lot of energy and it certainly every day. But I really enjoy that collaboration and creating something that comes to life and, celebrating in what we've done after the fact. And quite frankly, I really love the data that goes along with those success stories. It's something I thrive on. And I think also helping people to see what they're capable of. I talk about that because it's just so empowering for so many. I think what I like least about leadership is politics. And I think it's something you have to deal with everywhere you go, but how you navigate and how you create, that EQ and the empathy that goes along with navigating the politics is really important, but sometimes it can be really challenging, especially as a woman in tech. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, yeah.
for sure.
And I think, now that, and you've been through your assessments with us and the CDRU coach, but I think when you think of politics, often it is the risks in play, the risks behind the scene, things that are going on that aren't always easy to pick up on.
Right.
Like, so we see that a lot. And rather than deal with issues up front or concerns or differences, people go and have the elevator meetings or whatever they're doing in the hallways versus getting together and working things out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that you can do to navigate the politics. Like I am definitely someone that does a lot of stakeholdering, so understanding where people are coming from
Right,
and
right.
where do we sit together. If you read the book Getting to Yes, this is where we are and this is how we get to the next step and actually move forward. So there's a lot of opportunities in that space and I certainly have learned a lot, but sometimes people play dirtier than you want them to.
Yeah, yeah. There you just and I think when you are like focused on the goals and what's going on, you don't see those things coming. If you're not playing in that political field, it's easy to get. I mean, it's happened to me in my career too, where I didn't see things coming, and I should have. But I'm thinking, you think the good of people and things are going this way, and then something comes in from sideways, right? On occasion.
And that does happen. I mean, I worked at a Fortune 30 company where there was lots of things going on in a lot of different places. The more that you understand
Mhm.
about the ecosystem and the goals of the company and some in some ways the history of how they've gotten to where they are, the better off you are to understand how to navigate.
Right, right. Navigate and sometimes even survive it. It's tough. I mean, many, many years ago before working in, I worked in the energy industry, which was all men back in the
Mhm.
day when I was doing it. So, and the funny thing was, I started in the Philadelphia area, went out to Wyoming, but I didn't run into a lot of that politics and negative kind of thing till I got into the Bible Belt, believe it or not.
Makes
with
no
with
sense.
the with the men thing because they really had a hard time accepting. I was in HR, of course, but I'm just saying. So I get it. It's and you
The
just don't always see those networks going on. If
The
that makes
world the world is a changing though, right? I think
oh
that we've seen a lot of opportunity. I think that there are many people that are seeing the value in what folks can do in their organizations, and there's been a lot of discussions and training, and also women that are making amazing things happen
oh
to
yeah,
say,
yeah.
here are these examples of what this looks like and why there's women in leadership that are doing great things.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've written 2 books on women in leadership. So women have amazing profiles to lead. Actually, in many ways, better because they're better at the relationship side. Sometimes men, in on averages, they might be slightly more strategic. Not in your case, but some women tend to be a little more operational. But overall, women have amazing profiles to lead. So there's no reason that. And I'm glad. I'm glad to see the changes and how it's evolved over the years. Like I said, I was going way back. I won't tell you how many years, but way back. Okay. So anyway, so you know, what what would you say? Do you have any words of wisdom for, say, young women and men wanting to move into that technical world and leadership? What advice do you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of value in understanding what you are capable of and also challenging yourself to do more and
Right.
speaking to your value. And we talk about it, but I don't think a lot of people understand how to go about doing it. I actually went to this Google I Am Remarkable event last week, which was really talking about how to advocate for yourself and
Right.
reminding it's not bragging, that it's actually talking about what's possible and telling people about it, telling people about
Exactly.
your achievements, because that's how you continue to grow and also to challenge yourself because you know how much you're capable of. Go for it. Give
Right.
it a
Right.
shot.
And the other thing I think too, if they can demonstrate what I recommend to young people in that same line is show your problem solving skills. Get out ahead. Don't wait for somebody to bring you a problem. Find those problems, get in front of them and fix them, and then communicate. So don't be waiting back and say, well, somebody will bring me something to figure out. Go figure it out. Go find those things that you can improve on or that need fixed. I think that makes that will create a whole different career path for you if you do that. People
It
notice
does,
that. People notice
because
that.
you see something that you know you can go and help make happen, and
Right.
you go and do it, and people are like, "Whoa, we didn't even know that was a problem."
Exactly. Honestly, that I think that's the whole thing is people want to see critical thinkers and problem solvers. And that's what people in tech and STEM are
Yes.
best at. So if they're too quiet about, like you say, they don't toot their own horn to say, hey, I did this, or, I noticed this problem. So I went ahead and did this and it seems to have fixed it. Should I go, take the other steps? People are going, wow, that's terrific. And it saves so much money. So that to me for young people is assert yourself, assert your problem solving skills, go after it, have fun with it, you know.
That's why people bring in other folks, right? They want fresh eyes looking at it. Once people get a little bit stuck, right? When you're around something all the time, and then you bring in somebody brand new, and they may be very junior, they may be very senior, but they see
Right.
opportunities
Right.
to improve.
Well, and I think even when you go back, even this is going to sound, but Chat GPT to some degree gives you that other set when you get stuck in your own language and things too much, if that makes sense. If you're like on the marketing or, writing side, it just gives you a fresh set of eyes, if you will. I know it's not eyes, but it feels like eyes.
But it's suggestions, right? That's what I was talking
Exactly.
about, that
Oh,
creativity. And like, I didn't think about that aspect of
yeah. Yeah.
this.
So
So
that's all pretty amazing. So I do want to ask you, since you did take CDRU coach and you had your personalized feedback with your selected avatar, tell us about that experience, if you wouldn't mind.
So, how introspective to have that opportunity because of the way that CDRU has put together the modules, and there's things about your character and things about your risks and things that you can actually dig into. And some of my risks, I actually started leaning into and making changes in my
Good.
behavior and saw phenomenal reactions, improvements, and actually people doing much better under my leadership because I'm a go-getter and I'm trying
Right.
to make everything wonderful, and some of my risks is I'm a little bit of a perfectionist,
Right.
and I hadn't understood it in the same way as the assessment and the avatar provided to me, right? That coaching itself was really helpful in understanding some of those opportunities for improvement. And it was also a really exciting assessment for me. I mean, you and I had the opportunity to talk about it and understanding, where my skill sets in leadership really lie, and that confirming some of the things that I thought were where I was, but having it in that type of assessment was really was wonderful for me and for my self confidence, to be honest.
Great. Great. Well, and I think some people, but you're in tech, so you weren't like worried or concerned about going in and here. And we have improved I don't know if you know this too, we've added AI voices. So it actually is even very conversational, the voices, or where they were a little tiny robotic when you went through, but the information was great, but
Great.
anyway. But I guess for us, and the reason we did it too was so that more people can have this rich feedback of the assessments and become self-aware, because so many people, what we see, I know you love to develop talent, but what we see, so many people are underutilized in where they're at, or they don't know what they really should be doing. They undersell themselves. Every college kid that I've ever coached prior to CDRU coach, right, for 20 some years, was in the wrong major. Okay. And every one of them were underselling themselves. I had one that was going in business and he's like, well, because I do sales and I'm good at this. And I'm like, but you have a STEM profile. You know what that means? Like you could be an engineer or this or that. And so he's like, well, what does an engineer do? And I say, well, basically they solve problems. They're analytical. They come up with new ideas and approaches to help the world, to help businesses.
Right.
And so he's like, well, I don't know. I said, well, okay, you're a good business guy. And I said, you can come out and make $40,000 with your business degree, or you can make 6 digits with your engineering degree. So I said, anyway, point being is, but that's happened so many times. And he did go into engineering, by the way. He did go into bioengineering. And then I said, you can always go in for an MBA or a master's in something, right?
Sure.
But if you don't get your technical or technology degree first, it's hard to go back for that.
It's really, I mean, now everybody needs to learn technology. There's
Yeah,
levels, right? Of course.
right.
But if that's something that people are thinking about or enjoying, I'm the first one to say go do it, because I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that, the world is the foundation of what we're all doing is technology, and
Exactly.
technology is moving mountains.
Yes.
So
Yes.
understanding it and the foundation and the lay of the land can be very, very helpful for people in both life as well as careers.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why we did this, obviously, to help people not wait. So what happens in the world, and what we see in our executive life coaching practice, we've been coaching the top, leaders, executive C-suite, maybe to VP, sometimes director level. And that's it. But these people are what? Usually almost in their last third of their career. What about the first third? That's where you need it the most, almost, to know where you need to go, what you're really good at, and what to watch out for in your risks.
Right, and thinking about how you want your career to evolve based on those skill sets and your risks and
Right.
assessments. And it was also great because those avatars, it's very it's it's easy to go through yourself and learn.
Right.
And you can actually take all the information in a very different way. Whereas, there's great to have conversations with
Right.
coaches. That's phenomenal too. But it's a little less scary for some to have that opportunity to listen and be like, okay, this was my report, but this is what it's saying, and having someone explain it to you in language that you can understand.
Good. Good. Yeah. And that was our goal, is you need what does it really mean to me? How does it show up? What's it look like in other people? What's the positive in it? What's the watch out? Because sometimes, as a high score in something can be, or even a low score can be positive in some ways, but there might be watch outs depending on what your job is. Right.
And that was also very helpful in the assessment, because it's, you think all of your skills are, super helpful, but some of them actually can show up in very bad ways, in like they're great here, but they're not so fabulous in this situation.
Right, right. And that's like, for example, like in my case, and possibly in yours too, where I have higher sociability. So I like to talk and enjoy and engage. But sometimes it can go too far. It's like, okay, Nancy, can it? Quiet with my upstager. So
Mm.
anyway, my business partner, Kim Leverage, said to me many years ago, easy killer. I got it 5 minutes ago. Like,
Well,
so, but no, but it does help. I mean, and the other thing that I enjoy now too is working with teams after, say, a group has been through the leader and the team, and then work on team development using the data. And it's amazing. People just, like I said, you'll see clusters. And so these clusters, especially say in the risks, often hold the team back, or the differences in the character, say a difference in interpersonal, people that are high versus people that are low. They're not getting along because they don't like talking to each other. It makes them uncomfortable.
so when
'Cause the high people wear their feelings on their sleeves and are so gentle and kind and supportive. And then people with low scores are so direct and,
So what if you like this was something that I was so interested in talking to you about, Nancy, is when you're doing some of those leadership team assessments and you're bringing out the things that people are good and bad at, like their cards are kind of on the
oh
table,
yeah.
and how you've seen those teams evolve because of
Oh yeah.
having the knowledge.
Yeah. So what happens is, prior to going to the team event, of course, everybody goes through their own debrief, whether it's live or CDR you coach. So when they come in, they're like, and we have them walk through, I have them do activities without seeing the data first. So they're walking
Mm.
through these activities. And sometimes it becomes pretty obvious if it's interpersonal sensitivity because they know they react differently. But they're like blown away at, oh my gosh, especially, even the risks, like I just had a group say they had high false advocate. We'll see that in tech. We see it in finance a lot. A lot of people who don't want to, and people who don't like to be objectionable. So, like, if
Mhm.
you had an idea, Ricky, and I have, say, high false advocate, or the whole team does, you have an idea, and we'll go, "Oh yeah, that sounds good." But inside my head, I'm thinking that really sucks, But I won't
That's
say
such a
it
killer of
because I don't
teams.
want to hurt your feelings, or I don't want to be objectionable. So everybody marches on, but then people drag their feet. They don't commit because they never agreed in the first place in their head, but yet the leader or the person with the idea thinks they agreed. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But that hurts teams. So that means you end up getting lackluster performance because nobody's really on board. So it's important when you say, for example, so what you do to mitigate that as a team, hey, we know we're all false advocates. So everybody has to go around once and say what they really think or what could get in the way of this plan or idea, or do they have a different idea that might work better? Because they won't say it first pass due to being polite or just not wanting to fall on that sword. Sometimes they tell me, I don't want to fall on the sword. Well, they need to start falling on the sword and be more open. Energy industry, for example, they're all like engineers, all STEM mostly, right? Or finance. That's how you climb in energy. Well, they're all detached. So when the heat is on or there's conflict or a problem, what do? They close down, they stop communicating. So I have said, and it doesn't matter where you fall out on the green, being green and all the rest. We all support the planet and good environment, no doubt there. But when arguments were coming up on the one side, fossil fuel folks shut down. The energy people shut down because they don't fight. They go back to their corner. Mm-hmm. So it was a one-sided argument for many years without them really saying, articulating the positive, benefits of, say, fossil fuels. But it's because of the profiles of the executives. I've talked to some executives in energy about that. You all shut down. You can't all shut down. I mean, there has to be a voice.
So do they change? I mean, because I changed for my assessment. I definitely made some tweaks to what I do, and I reviewed it again, and I continue to do that. Do you see executives changing, and then I would think that their teams are accelerating because they're actually learning better behaviors and how to work together?
Some are, but some don't. Some from years. Of course, I've been around for a long time, right? So you can't teach fish to fly. So if I have to really work at it and stay with it. Now, I've had a couple of people come back recently. One actually in the military, and he said he was assessed 12 years ago. He says, I still look at my assessments every 3 weeks to make sure those risks that I'm managing them. Because here's the issue with it. They don't just go away. Like your risks are still there, but you're managing them. You've conquered them. You think about it and you practice and deploy new tactics. Otherwise, you could fall back and become that perfectionist again, right? So the idea that, number one, to recognize that you do it. So, and to think about what situations put me there. When do I most commonly go there? And then you have to come up and practice and deploy new tactics. But it's kind of, eventually you can just get more natural with the prevention, with doing something different. So in that way, yes. But the risk is still there to some degree when you're not really, if you get yourself upset or you're not really thinking or you're really tired, then maybe you go back to that digging in, or in my case, talking too much. I've got others too. That's not my only risk. I mean, I can say
we all have a host of things that are on our risky side, but the great thing is there's a bunch of things on our, here's the benefits of who you are and you as a person from a character.
Right. And believe me, and these risks, they don't, we'll see trends certainly in certain roles, certain types of jobs, like I mentioned, energy or this or that, engineers, but and sometimes you'll get people with an anomaly. I've had CEOs that are pleasers, and you think, how could a CEO be a pleaser? Well, they are, and they succeed, but they do, if they're not aware of it, sometimes people tend to maybe walk all over them, or they get somebody really tough and aggressive, and they might not assert themselves the way they should. And that kind of, so, I mean, and that's unusual. Usually you're not going to see that. I'm just saying, so sometimes we can get some one-off odd things. Or you can get, here's the one that I always think people think, how could it possibly be? But you can get a person who's an egotist, meaning having some of that narcissism, and they're also a pleaser, which is more the sycophant.
How do you do that?
And we worked with such a leader, an executive in medical device industry, right? In New Jersey, close to your stomping grounds, right?
Yep.
So what would happen is, with people below her, she was really tough and abrasive and didn't give them a break. She would say things like, well, they haven't paid their dues. Oh, stop it. They don't, that kind of thing. So she was really hard on people below her, but upward, she just jumped through hoops. She kissed up. So upward, it's different because that's the senior leadership or board, but downward. So here's the other thing that's so interesting about risks. Different things push different buttons. So with some people, we react this way, and in other cases, this other risk may show up.
Right. Interesting.
Like I have my two highest risks. I mentioned upstager. My other one is detached.
Huh.
And you think, how can that be? Or I probably get people who say, I wish her detached would kick in, right? No. So what it is, it's not frequency. So most of the time, I'm on a roll, I get passionate, I talk, whatever. But if I am troubled, something's bothering me, or I get my feelings hurt, then I'm quiet. I go away.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you can, but it's important to know. And the reason it's important to know, back to the other team, what does the team know? So the team knows if Nancy's gone quiet, something's probably wrong. Somebody better reach out and talk to her, because then what happens is, when you're like a detached person, you end up working on something away. If you'd only ask for help, maybe it would be resolved and you wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? Same with worriers. Worriers tend to over process and overwork it. But if they would only reach out for help or have a discussion earlier, they wouldn't waste that 3-4 hours going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So that's
100%.
where we help each other on a team. Oh, what's going on with Ricki? Or I noticed she's getting really detailed again. Maybe she's pretty stressed. Let's talk. Let's see how she's doing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because my social from the assessment is high, right? I'm a very social individual, and I love solving problems with people and facilitating those solving problems, then looking cohesively at, okay, well, we kind of solved this, but I know that there's this thing over here too that we have to go and manage. And, understanding how that plays against some of the other features of the folks that I'm working with has been helpful. For sure.
Yeah. And also, I think too, because you're so bubbly and outgoing, and you have this high interpersonal, you're really caring about people, you're an advocate and so forth. With them being a little isolated, I do wonder sometimes if you've had that reaction of, okay, I'm fine. Because they're like, some of them tend to be a little, like I say, aloof, a little distant. Do you ever get that sometimes, that maybe you're a little too nurturing for because they often have lower interpersonal too, mainly because they detach.
For sure. I mean, I think because of who I am and the folks that I've interacted with, and people do truly realize that I'm in it for everyone to win it, right?
Yeah, no,
and so while I may overstep with trying to be caring and assisting and nurturing, folks typically know, all right, like, I'm good.
Good.
And I back off. I don't really care. I really care about people and how they're feeling, how they're doing. And I also know that, when you're happy and you're enjoying what you're doing and other people are interacting with you, you're doing your best work.
Absolutely. When you're happy, you're not stressed. When you can trust each other, you're not worrying about what somebody else's agenda is. I mean, life is good then. So that's great. Yeah. So good. Yeah. So now I know you're making some career changes. Can you share? Do you have some plans moving forward?
I do.
Stuff. Good.
I do. So I was running product development and engineering in my previous role, which was wonderful. And we did some phenomenal things in that space. I'm actually going to be running strategy for telecom and media at a SaaS company. I'm not going to, people can look around, but I'm really excited about it because it really gives me the opportunity to continue to enable great customer experiences in the digital world, dig into the data and analytics around people's businesses, helping them be even more successful, and also using this platform that I'm going to be very involved in to help them create even more growth for their own businesses. Awesome. So I get to help do that within the business that I'm working in, and also helping other businesses do that for themselves. So I'm starting next week, and more to come. But I'm really excited, and it's a phenomenal group of people. I've met many of them, and I'm really excited to get started.
Good. So you're going from the big Fortune 30 Comcast to is it mid or smaller mid-size company?
It is a small, it's a startup. I guess that, I don't know if they're startup now. They were founded in 2015.
Oh, okay.
So they've been around for a bit. They were a unicorn in 2021, and a lot of digital companies use their product now. So there's a lot to dig into.
Well, and I think just the change, for me, even with the different customers, we work with we've worked with the Pentagon to universities, large corporations, down to small businesses that we support, and it's so much easier. Just, I mean, in our life, I mean, it's easier. You make a lot more headway with the mid to smalls, to be honest with you. I mean, they're just easier to work with because they're not these behemoth. You got to get approval by 15 people, to move forward. So unless you really get a champion, sometimes we'll get a champion in those organizations. But I think you'll find, I mean, I hope you'll find it. I find it a little more freeing and fun, easier to work with because of not so much bureaucracy.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to working within a smaller company, but also working with small, medium, and enterprise businesses. I mean, they all have different
Right.
challenges that they're trying to solve. I do know how to navigate politics and how to sell in organizations, concepts and visions that we want to make happen. I mean, I did that at Comcast. It was a phenomenal experience. And I hope that I'll be able to help other companies do the same within their businesses, because
Good.
this is a platform that can really help accelerate growth.
So you'll be working with the client base as well then, helping, great, external facing as well as internal facing. Good.
Very much so.
Oh, that's perfect for you. That's ideal. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because I do see you posting a lot of tell us about some of the associations or events or women in leadership organizations that you support, just so people can know what's kind of going on.
Sure. So I ran the diversity, equity, and inclusion team in a specific area at Comcast for some time.
Right.
Built some phenomenal programming, including mentorship, and took some of those skills. And I am on the WICT Greater Philadelphia board as well. So that's Women in Cable Tech and Media,
Oh, awesome.
and been running some wonderful programming that's very empowering and educational for women there. Doing mentoring also in that space, which is something that I do everywhere I go. I also have been very involved in the Ambler Theater Board. It's a local theater in the area.
Oh, awesome.
So kind of continue to help accelerate and bring growth into our area for a historical company. And then I am involved in a lot of Philly tech funders and founders and things of that nature, where there's women that are trying to start businesses,
Right.
and women that are trying to navigate how they speak their own value proposition. So I'm very involved in that, as well as I'm on a strategic AI advisory board. So there's some different organizations that I'm a part of, but the knowledge that I'm gaining in those spaces, I really use to help other people continue to grow as well, because I love to share that knowledge and sharing that in ways that people can do it themselves. As an example, I took this prompt engineering course and I shared it with quite a few friends, and they all were excited about it, and it's helping them in their own spaces. So I think from a organizational perspective, there's a lot of opportunity, but also just on a person by person basis, and helping people to empower themselves.
Yeah. So, and if I might share, isn't one of your highest drivers, if I recall, humanitarian, helping society be a better place, helping people? So
Very mission driven. Yes.
great, great. So, okay. So now I'm going to get a little more personal with this question. Can you share something with us that people might not know or expect about you? Something fun, something different or interesting?
Let's see.
I know that's a tough one. Putting you on the spot.
No, I mean, there's so many interesting things. I mean, let's see. I've been playing padel and pickleball, which is something that's interesting. But I really, as much as I'm an extrovert, I'm also very introverted, and I need my own time. And I found a lot of solace in meditating and journaling. And a lot of people poo-poo and say, "Oh," but it has accelerated my own perspective on life, and also being able to be calmer in many situations, because you need a place to put your energy, but you need to know how to navigate that yourself as well. But I think that's probably something that people have found surprising, especially with my level of energy recently. So
good. Now there's going back to the personal, that I met you at my daughter's wedding. Is it true that you and John introduced Angela and Dave, or
We
is that
did. We actually did. So,
sorry,
I mean, that's
went
why I
full
wasn't sure
circle.
how much I'm sharing, but
Yeah.
yes, John introduced Dave to Angela, and they hit it off on day one. And we
Okay.
were very happy because we love both of them very, very much, and they're a beautiful couple.
Oh, yeah.
And the energy and the drive and the stamina that they give each other and the support that they provide is just a phenomenal thing to watch.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's beautiful to watch love grow.
Oh, yeah, and I'll be honest, obviously, I'm a mom, I've never seen her so happy, so I'm thrilled, that she met so thank you for the, introduction. I know that went a little personal, but
No,
thank you.
it's good. You know what? I had happy hour with Angela. I don't remember when it was, and she told me about you, and she was sharing about your book and your career, and she said you have to meet her. You would adore her and really love talking, and that's how it's been ever since we met, Nancy. And I'm like,
Thank
I
you.
I really am a big believer in helping people become better in their
Right.
life, whatever that looks like, and providing that opportunity to many because not everybody has the opportunity to really understand their strengths and weaknesses and dig into them in the way that you do with CDRU.
Well, thank you, but I also have to applaud you. I mean, I love the way you help people, you mentor, you're in all these organizations, both in your work and outside of work, you're helping people grow. So we're kind of walking down the same lane, if you will, of course, I have a delivery person when least expected,
Hope
but
it's something good, like
I
flowers.
hope so too. I don't know. Um, anyway, but this has been just amazing. What closing comments do you have, for me? For us, for all of us? I mean, I think this has been wonderful getting to know you. I'd love to have you come back in a year after you're in your new position. Let us know how it's going. So, any other comments, that you'd like to share?
Sure. Because I am mission driven and that's really how I live my life, I really would encourage people to continue to give back. You're giving back with CDRU and your assessments and the insights that you give to others, but there really is a ripple effect to people when they're giving back in the world that they're living in. And I would encourage everyone to step up, step in, and make it happen.
Great, great. And then my closing comment is go Eagles.
Birds!
Anyway, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me,
Thank
Nancy. This
you,
is
Ricki.
great.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. And and I do have to go answer the